A hiring manager is going to give 20 seconds for your resume first pass. Not 2 minutes, just 20 seconds. And in those 20 seconds, they are trying to answer only one thing: whether this person has actually shipped a system or simply watched a tutorial. Now, this video is about how to fall on the other end. That means how to ensure that you build the system on the reader's mind. Now, that is the entire signal. Everything else is just the format. Now, in this video, we're going to look into the strategies as how to appear as the person who have shipped the product, not watch the tutorial. It's not the generic tips, but the exact things that the senior AI engineer interviews are actually looking for. Most AI resumes read like a curriculum, a list of things the person has been exposed to, like experience with LangChain, Llama Index, Chroma, VV8, and Pinecone. And you'll also have the information like built a RAG chatbot using the GPT-5 and Hugging Face embedding, deployed the models using Fast API and Docker on the AWS. Now, all of those sentences describe activity, and none of them describe the outcome or decision. None of them answer the question a hiring manager is actually asking for. An experienced reader will pass through those lines and they will make a decision that, okay, this person has followed the tutorials. Now, which may not be a fair, but is usually correct. A tutorial shaped resume is a strong signal that work was actually tutorial shaped. The pattern that gets past this first screen is structurally different, guys. It's not a longer list. It's not about having more framework. It's not about more keywords. Now, obviously, keywords do matter, but the key thing that you have to note over here is it's a different grammar, the grammar of someone who has owned outcomes under the constraint. Now, I want to be precise about what a hiring manager is actually scanning for in under 20 seconds. They are looking for three signals, and it is usually in this order. Signal number one is scope of ownership. Did you own a problem or did you contribute to a component? Now, these are very different. A line like own the retrieval layer for a customer facing agent serving 40,000 daily queries signals the scope. A line like worked on a retrieval layer does not. Now, here, the word owned is operational. It means you were the person who chose the architecture, made the trade off, got paged when it broke, and shipped the fix. The readers who have been in senior seats, they recognize the shape. Tutorials never require ownership. So a tutorial shaped work cannot carry the signal. It will simply say as worked on the retrieval layer or worked on the generation pipeline. And the second signal is decision under constraint. Here, every senior engineer has a story as where they had to choose between two architectures. Both of them had cost. The senior's move is to name the trade off explicitly on the resume, like chose hybrid search over pure vector similarity after observing 18% precision loss on the long tail queries. So over here, we have accepted this 22 milliseconds latency cost in exchange for 31 percentage points of precision recovery. Now, that sentence contains a trade off. A trade off, the numbers that quantify the both the sides. A hiring manager will read that and thinks, okay, this person has thought about the problem. They have not just used the tool. Now, if you compare to the weak approach, it would be mentioning as something like, I've implemented the hybrid search using BM25 and vector embeddings. It's a same technical work, but entirely different signal on the resume. And the third signal is failure that you recovered from. Now, this is one of the most things that people would hide, but in reality, they should not. A short line describing a failure and the recovery is the strongest authenticity marker a resume can actually carry. Like to illustrate the same, it can be as simple as shipped a guardrail system after the prompt injection incident routed 0.4% of the production queries to the unintended tool endpoint. So you have designed the policy enforcement layer that now runs at the input output boundary. Now, no tutorial will actually produce us that line. It can only come from someone who was there when the system broke. Readers with senior experience recognize this immediately because they have their own version of it when they have done the implementation. Now, the key thing that is the opening line in the whole resume, I would say, I want you to observe this, guys. Here is the fact that most people underweight. In 20-second scan, the reader reads the opening line and the first bullet under the first row. If those two lines don't answer the question about has this person shipped a system, the rest of the resume gets pattern matched against whatever the pattern that the reader formed in those first two lines. It is nearly impossible to recover from a weak opening. At the opening line should not be like AI engineer with X years of experience in machine learning and NLP. Now, this is a greeting, not a positioning. The opening line should be compressed, outcome shaped, summary of what you have done. It should be something like senior engineer who has shipped two agent systems to production at scale, one serving 40K daily queries and one in a regulated healthcare domain, and has led the observability and cost architecture for both of them. Now, if you look at it, that is specific. It is outcome framed. It positions the reader to expect the details that backs it up. It survives the 20-second scan because it answers the question immediately. The first bullet under the first roll is the proof. It should be the one bullet that you would keep even if you had to delete the rest of the resume. It should reinforce the claim in the opening line with the specific, quantified, failure tested story. If you cannot write those two lines with confidence, the opening and the first bullet, your resume will not get past the first screen. And no format change will actually fix it. The problem is not your resume, it is that you have not yet built the experience that the resume is trying to compress. Now, what are the key metrics that matter then? And what is it that you can actually ignore it? Let's have a look into the same. Numbers on a resume are a language. Senior readers parse them differently from junior readers. And you should know the difference over here, guys. Numbers that matter are these: throughput, latency, accuracy, cost, error rate, user count, and most importantly, the delta that you were responsible for. To illustrate the same, reduce retrieval latency from 340 milliseconds P99 to 80 milliseconds P99 through query planning, which we have done in the orchestration layer. Now, that is a number that I'm talking about, and you have the before and after. The mechanism that caused the change. Now, here in this example, it is query planning changes that you have done in the orchestration layer. The percentile over here matters. You have talked about the P99, not average, because a senior reader knows that P99 is where your production lives. The numbers that don't matter are model parameter count that you didn't train, data set size that you consumed from somewhere else, or the number of lines of the code, or number of commits that you have made, or the number of frameworks that you have listed. These are the things that doesn't matter. A resume with four concrete before and after deltas on maybe four different architectural surface beats a resume with 40 frameworks listed over there. And it happens every single time. The first will signal the someone that who has shipped. The second signals someone that who has just borrowed from the documentation. If your experience is early and maybe you don't have before after deltas, now that's your training signal. It means that your next 6 months of work should be oriented towards producing them. Now, there's one more challenge that I generally see, that is this project section problem. Most senior AI resumes have a project section, and most of them are liability rather than an asset. Now, I want to explain this why. So, a project section is where a resume goes to include the work that couldn't carry a real production label. Now, that is fine if the project themselves are actually production shaped, but in most of the scenarios, it never are. Now, let me briefly tell you as what are the pattern that you need to avoid so that you get a better understanding as how you need to structure this. Saying 3 to 4 projects and each with one line description saying as GitHub link, build a rack chatbot over my personal PDF, trained a LoRa fine tune on Mistral 7 billion parameter or the model, deployed a Llama CCP quantized model to a Raspberry Pi. Now, each one of those is like a tutorial that you have completed. It's not a system that you have shipped. A senior would actually see this, and the signal is, oh, this person has been learning. That's a good sign. Learning is good, but it's not senior yet. The project section that actually helps is the one that is structured differently. One project, which is deep, structured exactly like a real production engagement. Now, here's how an example would look like, which is a production shaped project. It can be as simple as built a production shaped retrieval pipeline over a 2.1 million document, which is a regulatory one. And that's the size of my corpus. Designed a 3 layer architecture, sparse retrieval over document title, dense retrieval over chunked bodies, and re-ranking via cross encoder. Evaluated on a 300 query hand label set, observed 70% precision at k is equal to 5. Cost per query is $0.18. Latency P95 is 320 milliseconds. You can mention as open source with full eval set, ablation studies, and a written post-mortem on what I would change. Now that is one project. If you'll take a look at it, it is a production shaped one. The resume can carry a single link to that project and it will do more work than 10 tutorial project. The rule is this: one production shaped project beats 10 finished tutorial, always structurally, emotionally, and more importantly, by pattern match in the reader's mind. Now, here's what I see, guys, especially the experience gap problem. Let me actually answer this hardest case. Someone watching this has maybe 4 to 7 years of non AI engineering experience, and it is he or she is trying to move to the senior AI roles. The resume has a gap. It's not a career gap, but an AI specific experience gap. Now, here is the senior framing. Do not try to hide the gap. The readers will detect it anyway. Instead, reframe the transferable experience in an explicit manner. You can say something like 10 years of distributed systems experience, now applying that operational lens to the agentic system, specifically ownership of production retrieval pipeline and its cost latency architecture. Now, what that sentence does is honest. It says that I do not have 10 years of AI, but my 10 years of shipping systems transfer in specific named ways. It does not ask the reader to ignore the gap. It reframes what that gap is. Now, this works because senior AI work is mostly senior systems work with different set of component. Now, anyone who has shipped a high throughput distributed system has the relevant operational muscle. The only thing missing is the exposure to the specific failure mode of the LLM shaped component. Now, if you just consider that, now that gap closes quickly in months itself if you build deliberately rather than tutorially. The resume that hides the gap gets screened out. The resume that names it and reframes it often gets the call. Now, this is the mental model that I want you to have from this video. A resume is not a description of your past. It is a contract about what you will be able to discuss in the interview. every line on your resume is an implicit commitment. If it says that own the retrieval layer, you will be asked to explain the architecture, the trade offs, the failures, the cost, the eval methodology, and what you would change. If you cannot answer those questions for 20 minutes with specific detail, that line that you have put is damaging and it's not helpful. It signals that you are just inflating. Now, this is the contrarier thing, guys. Writing a stronger resume is usually about writing a shorter one with lines that you can defend to the depth. One production shaped role described with four concrete outcome bullets that you can actually sustain for 20 minutes of technical conversation beats a resume that lists six roles in a shallow manner. The lines that you can defend are the lines that carry. The lines that you cannot are the lines that gonna hurt you in the interview. So before you write, ask of each bullet. Can I talk about this for 20 minutes with a senior interviewer and still have more to say? If no, cut it or change the engagement that it actually describes. Here's what I would do if I'm preparing for the interview this week. Three concrete action. One, rewrite your opening line, not as a summary of skills, but as a positioning that names the one thing that you have actually shipped. If you have not yet shipped, the one thing that's worth positioning around, I will say that's the first thing that you have to fix, not your resume. Two, for each bullet, add the before and after delta and the trade offs that you have made, like reduce X from A to B by deciding C over D. And we'll by accepting maybe E as a cost. So if you cannot do this for an individual bullet, the bullet will describe the activity, not the ownership. Three, replace your 5 tutorial project section with one project of real depth. One is enough. 10 is a warning sign. So the resume pattern that gets you past the first screen is not a format. It is a grammar, the grammar of someone who has owned, decided, failed, and recovered. Readers who have been in senior seats recognize it in an immediate manner. If you do not have that grammar, you don't need a resume service. What you need is the experience that your grammar compresses. If you want to build that experience in a deliberate manner, where you'll be working with production shaped project, evaluated honestly with a kind of artifact that a senior interviewer recognizes, we have the Agentic AI Enterprise Mastery Bootcamp, where you don't build a tutorial project, you build that one project that reshapes your resume. If that's the kind of project that you want to build and the skill set that you want to add, the link is in the description. If you're focusing on the interviews, we also have the Agentic AI interview playbook. So both the links are in the description. System ship, demos don't. Thanks for watching. I'll see you next time.